What made you join Seuga?
I had a racial confrontation at work. I threatened to hit him, and then rather than hitting him, I walked out. And just didn't want to go back to work anymore because I've always bottled my anger. I just kept it in and just let it build, kind of like an iceberg. Like you see the front, the face that's always above, but you don't see what's in me, while I'm digging, and what's down below.
I noticed a change in his, or a shift in his behaviour, more so around just being really quick to be angry and unsettled and just defensive when we have our arguments and things like that. And so I just noticed over a period of time it became quite known or evident that it was getting quite full on.
A lot of this issue, mainly it's under the carpet and it's behind closed doors, and it's something sometimes that whakama or shame because that ruins the name of the family or the ainga. People tend to not talk about these things, even in our community churches. We think we're okay, but reality is happening within families.
If you had a child, that child then becomes fearful of you, and then when they turn into an adult, they do that to their own children, and it's that intergenerational trauma that carries on from a young person to an adult. And so a lot of the conversations we have are difficult conversations, but it's ones that need to be had.
Metaphorically, with the Seuga, it's a way of capturing our Pacific people that are sort of going the other direction or lost, their identity, have lost their culture, have lost because of a lot of cultural differences, the faith, and a whole lot of other issues in terms of migrating to New Zealand. It's a psychoeducation program around education of the differences of what was known as the norm back then, or where we come from, to now coming to a place that is not normal in the way we used to do things. Looking from a different perspective to be able to find the right way of living life in New Zealand according to the law, and just be safe and having a healthy well-being for Pacific people.
I do think that education needs to be driven more within our Pasifika community, but it's also the understanding of what that is. We can give them the tools to learn, but if they don't have an understanding of it, there's actually no point. And so part of our role is sitting with them and the family and talking to them about, when you yell at your kids to do something, it's not just doing something so that they can do it, it's the impacts that the children will then have with them as they grow older. So it's really taking it back to the basics.
They know a lot more about why they feel the way they feel, why they get mad the way they do, the reactions. So when men talk about the changes that they've made at home with their families, their kids, the things that they talk about, like being able to go home from an education program and share that with their wives, with their kids, with their families, with other people. But then they come in and then they talk about the small changes that people have noticed in them.
It's allowed me to know the difference between living in a family with culture and living in a world that doesn't know my culture. Which is why I wish they had this program back then, so I wouldn't have to go through what I went through. And I wouldn't have to try to understand why do people treat me the way that I've been treated. Like, why is the colour of my skin or my ethnicity or my culture so different?
I would say that our culture has a lot of pride, and so not to let that pride stand in the way of becoming a better person for yourself and your family. My advice would be is just seek the help. Do the course. It's a great course for our people. I really encourage that, if we want, our generation or our men to become, the leaders in our family, for example, then this is a great course for them to do. I strongly recommend it.
Ore se polkalame pasilinga o ngā mō kākou ngi Pasifika ma kākou ngi olo o kākou au mau ngi e kungu olo ole aise kākou wheso ka inga hui e ma leanga nuu I Samoa tūmbanga wha Samoa. Ia e wa vea polkalame ngi mo whai ma wheso soangi kele mō kākou fo ia ai mo whawhika au ni whapenga I tono a inga.
They just need to get their pride out and kick it out the bucket. They don't know what it's like inside the program. The amount of pressure that's in you that gets released. The backstories of the brothers that you talk to and their stories that you can relate to. It's a great program to know the difference between your own culture and the people that's out there.
It's just to take that leap of faith, take that step out. Just, you know, you're not going to change if you don't try. Change starts when you do it. That's definitely something I would say to someone who was a bit shaky about coming.
You know, you only get one life, and so a lot of us as human beings, it's in our DNA to make mistakes. You know, we all make mistakes, you know, but coming to Seuga is that chance to acknowledge that something has happened, but that there's a better future for you. So it's using not only the tools but the education that we provide within Seuga to have a better outcome, not only for yourself but for your family as well.
I can boldly say that, hey, there is hope. You know, there is potential in everyone. You know, what you're going through now is part of life, you know, but there is a way that we can walk alongside you with this program. Sometimes all we need is to look from a different perspective of why things happen, and that is enough to change the way we look at things and change our behavior.